Hello everyone, this is Joakim from Sabaton, and you are listening to Linear Rock.
Hello! Welcome back to Linear Rock.
Oh, thank you.
And to Milan. Last time we were live for the show, and now you're here playing a show close to here at Alcatraz, Milano. Very, very close to here.
Yeah.
So, how the tour just started, pretty much.
Yeah.
Is it actually every new tour feels like the first time, every time, especially at the beginning, some way?
Oh, yeah. So much new stuff. I mean, what we put on stage now, the first couple of shows, I was so nervous, not only because, I was always the normal nervousness, because a little bit nervous, new songs, am I going to remember the lyrics, am I going to mess it up? But then also I have to remember that, okay, at that point, I can't run out to the stage right area. I have to run out stage left, for example, because of something else is coming that way, or it could be pyrotechnics.
Yes.
So
a lot of things to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But for the great tour, were you able to create everything you wanted in the production, or there was something that, could not be done? Or
We actually managed to do everything, but as soon as we started with everything, we realized that wasn't everything. We wanted more. So we started in Helsinki on the 24th of November, which was the first show, and then we sort of had a break until just 10 days ago, I think we started the tour. And only during that time, 2 more things happened in the production, that was added. We came up with ideas because we're crazy. We're never happy, even though we should be happy because it looked awesome and we were super happy. But then we thought, how can we do this better,
The tank is there, of course.
The tank is there, yes.
Okay, and it's going to be there tonight as well.
Yes.
Okay, that is. Did you know that Kiss used the tank back in 1983, Lick It Up tour, the first unmasked tour? They used a tank with the drums on. Was that maybe a kind of inspiration for you, or it was too early, you were too young?
No. I mean, I don't remember. I was too young, so I don't remember it happening. But of course, growing up and, loving that kind of music. And I mean, I really like the Unmasked album of Kiss as well,
Okay.
So, we were aware of it. There were actually 2 reasons that made us think that even though they had done it, we could do it. One was like, we're Sabaton, we sing about military history, that belongs to us, It's not like something we only put there for the hell of it.
Right.
And then secondly, to be fair, Kiss's tank didn't look that good, I think.
Okay. But it was back in the 80s,
yeah.
so okay.
I mean, all respect to them, nothing bad against,
Okay, so this album comes in an important moment in your career, and the tour brings, everything another level up. The challenge is always bigger for Sabaton. Is every time maybe getting scary more and more to compete with yourselves, actually?
Yes. Not only for the show, but also for the songwriting. We want every show to be the best we ever done. I want every song that I write to be the best Sabaton song ever. Intellectually, we know that can happen, but it's really, really tricky for us sometimes. It feels, especially in the songwriting part, because it's a pretty lonely business to do, actually. But it's also, I think, a great motivator and driving force. And it's a shit place to be, and it's not nice to go through, if I'm honest. However, I think the fact that we are going through these things means we care, so we actually still do as good as we possibly can, which is why I can be happy with even the not so good shows or the not so good songs we did in the past, because I know we fucking did everything we could to make that as good as possible. And then, sometimes you bomb.
And sometimes it's a risky business too, to be in Sabaton. I read about the car crash that you were involved in after the filming of the video that just came out in December. 7 Pillars of Wisdom.
Yes.
Okay, do you remember that day? What happened?
Basically, we had just wrapped up the filming the night before. and we were on our way back from the Sahara to Tunis to fly back home. And we decided to start very early because things can go wrong. And yeah, they did. we got stuck 2 or 3 times on the way because obviously with these things going through the Sahara with the winds and stuff, we got stuck in the sand and had to unload everything and push the cars, to get forward. And then we had stopped for lunch, and we were basically on our way back to the motorway when we went. It was our driver's fault, the local guy.
Okay.
He drove into a car who was stationary in front of me, who just turned into the road. We were in about 70 kilometers an hour, and a pretty old car, so we didn't have 3-point seat belts, only 2 points, which of course made it.
Wow. So you had injuries, but wasn't,
well, it was different. There was everything from stitches to fractures, from ribs to necks and stuff like that. Nothing super broken, but fractures are serious enough. And actually, our old friend and who was working with the, behind the scenes material, camera guy, Richard, he still hasn't recovered. He can't still feel his toes from the accident. So,
like coming back from the battlefield. Pretty much.
I think they had it way worse than we did. In a sense, we should be lucky that that we aren't dead, actually.
Yeah. Wow. You are very coherent. How difficult it is to maintain such a solid consistency, between themes and sounds. Do you ever think, now it's becoming too difficult, maybe we should change and try something different, or you're in a sense trapped into it?
We were trapped in the theme of military history, but it's a trap I like to be in, so it's okay from that point. With the music, though, we always had this evolution thing, we're rooted in, 80s heavy metal. That's what we all grew up with.
Right.
I mean, I also like the 70s stuff, Rainbow, Deep Purple, that kind of stuff, a little bit older. Hannes, on the other hand, who's a bit younger, he likes the more extreme stuff. So even though we all like, metalheads, obviously, all in Sabaton, but the place where we all meet is the 80s, heavy metal, hard rock.
Right.
And that is the roots of Sabaton in a way. So musically, we never had the rule of we have to do this or we have to do that. We just did it, and if everybody in the band thought this is a good song, it should be on the album, then we put it on the album. So it's been a slow evolution. If you listen to one album and then the next, you hear a little bit of a change, but not much.
Okay.
But if you listen to our first album and The Great War, there's a big difference, So we're trying, sort of testing the waters, because we want Sabaton to remain Sabaton, but we don't want to stay exactly in the same formula for 20 years,
And you changed the producer this time. Peter is not producing after 10 years collaboration.
Yep.
Was it a mutual decision? And new member Tommy Johansson, which was his contribution in writing this time?
With Peter, it was basically he was too busy. He's a crazy man. We love him to death. But at some point, he's like, yeah, sure, I can squeeze in a recording, but I got to do the new Lindemann album, and then I got to go on tour with them, and then I have this show with Pain, and I'm also got to have to write a new Hypocrisy album.
Yeah.
So it's like...
So
no.
Where exactly we are in.
So, I mean, that was the same case with Coat of Arms for him as well. He only did the drums, and then we did the rest elsewhere.
Okay.
So we went with Jonas, who works in the same building, basically, and has been doing mastering for us and helping us in other ways before.
Okay.
So, and then there was a second part of that question.
Yeah, but Tommy Johansson, which was his contribution this time.
Yeah, one of the first songs written for the album was the song A Ghost in the Trenches, actually. And we decided to try it out and let's see if we can write songs together, because obviously him having done several bands before and being the main songwriter, we knew he could write songs. But then, can he write songs that sounds like Sabaton, or can we work together? Because sometimes songwriters are really good, but they can't work together because their styles clash, But it worked out fine. So one of the first songs that was done for the album is actually that one.
Did you actually miss Peter for some reason, or?
Well, yes and no. I mean, every producer has their good and bad sides, Jonas is a bit more shoot from the hip, let's go, get this shit done, and you're like, okay, where are we now? Peter is more methodical.
Okay.
In the end result, though, I think for this album, it's good that we went with Jonas because it ended up being more atmospheric, and it sounds like more like one unit. But it's also easier because this is only about one conflict. If you look at, for example, The Last Stand, we would have to try to represent ancient Greece and, the modern Soviet-Afghan conflict in the same sound.
So, after all these years, do you feel or perceive yourselves like a troupe, which is much more than being simply a band? And do you have your own army discipline, strict code and regulation?
Well, I don't think we see each other as any more than rock musicians having fun, because that's what it is. But yeah, we have some codes that we follow, but I think that's just common sense. We don't get drunk before we go on stage, If we for some reason are out, we have a nice meal. If somebody wants one glass of wine before the show and that's it, then okay maybe, But no partying before the show. We want to deliver a good show. And then, on the other hand, if after the show, if you have no show the day after, go wild. That's okay,
And get rock and roll.
Yes. I mean, it can be too boring if you are too good. And that's not nice either,
And who was in the band in the beginning, the true war passionate who dragged all the others in and had the idea to start this,
Military history was me and Per, actually.
Okay.
We were always the ones that were most passionate about the historical part. And I guess we still are, We have a good head start. I mean, I'm not saying, Chris, Hannes and Tommy aren't interested. They are. But me and Per have a very good head start for many years ahead of them. And we are, well, at least me, I'm a history nerd, for example,
So war is perceived, as a negative thing. What is the positive side in what you do, and is glorifying wars maybe borderline, even if it's definitely very heavy metal, but how would you explain that some way is positive what you do?
No, it's making sure those things aren't forgotten, especially these days when anything that is uncomfortable is something you try to avoid, which I think is super stupid, The sacrifices of these people should be remembered. And also, I mean, by learning from history, there's a chance we can avoid some crazy shit happening in the future.
Again.
So, I mean, our purpose is to tell these stories sort of like storytellers. Don't think of it as, us glorifying military conflict. That's not it. But we want to tell these stories because we find them hugely interesting. And there are nothing wrong with that, but there are enough bands that's singing about everything from dragons to sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
But we think there are so many great stories in our past, so why should we make up new ones? And especially with this, I mean, we also got to remember that armed conflict is a main driving innovational force in mankind. Look at all of mankind's history. And from 1914 to 1918, there has never been more advances in the medical field than during these years.
Okay.
Anything we understand about having clean hospitals, the first, plastic surgeries come from the aftermath of that, or rebuilding soldiers' faces. And there are so many, I mean, I'm not saying war is good in any way, but we should remember that in many cases,
but something good can
these
come
technologies
out of it.
Are not, I mean, GPS, for example, that's in our phones, military application.
That's a good point. Do you always dress in camouflage, even in, everyday life? And how many pieces in your wardrobe are camouflage?
Well, obviously, no, not today. I forgot, sorry.
Okay.
I'll wear my pink camo uniform next time. Well, no, not really. I do have a few pieces of camouflage stuff at home, but that's more for, out hiking in the woods or, stuff like that. But privately, no. I used to wear them back in the day, though, because they were cheap pants with extra pockets.
So you don't go to bed in camouflage every night? No, okay.
Sorry.
And which is your favorite war movie?
Ooh. It's not a movie, but a TV series, and that would be Band of Brothers, I think.
Okay.
It's a perfect marriage of, what do you call it? Storytelling, staying true to the facts, and also Hollywood diced it just enough so it's, it's still interesting for somebody who's not super into history. There's always that danger where, you know, if you stay very, very true to history, it's going to be boring. Because what people forget is, you know, World War I, you can spend 2 weeks in a trench doing nothing almost, or except being miserable and cold and sick. And then they say, okay, tomorrow we attack, and you pop your head up and boom, you're dead. So that's a boring movie or a video game, you know?
Okay. About this, do you think that you need also to develop some acting skills, you know, to perform and sing Sabaton songs?
Oh, I'm a shitty actor, so no. Trust me, I know.
Okay.
We've seen that when we try to act and do music videos. I'm a shitty actor, especially for cameras. In a sense, yeah, going on stage, it is sort of like me, but in a, what do you call it? You know, larger version, you know, supersized, you know, crazy version of me, you know, caricature almost of myself. So yeah, I can do Sabaton stage acting decently, but that's it. Because after, you know, you've done 1,000 shows or more, you should be learning.
And about video games, Battlefield 5 is also about the Great War. Did you ever play it? And did you ever actually consider to collaborate to something, you know, like that? Would you consider it?
Yeah, I mean, I played it, the single-player campaign only, because that's one that was cool when you were transported between the battlefields. Yeah, I loved that, you know. But after that, I stopped. I'm not into online gaming that much.
Okay.
However, our music, we've had, you know, song download packs for some of our stuff. In the game Hearts of Iron, which is about World War II, a strategy game. There was a download pack, and also in Europa Universalis by the same developer, Paradox. Obviously, that would be the Carolus Rex era stuff then, because that's about the empires in Europe.
Did you have any control on it, or should they pick the songs and?
No, there was a discussion with them. They had some songs they wanted to include, and then they asked us which other ones we would like, you know. So of course that's they were nice and fair to deal with, absolutely. And then, of course, wargaming that does World of Tanks and World of Warships.
All right. And is it true that you are a pinball wizard, that you like to play pinball a lot?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It is true I really like to play it. It is not true that I'm a wizard.
All right. Okay. So do you think there will ever be like a Sabaton pinball machine?
I'm going to make sure there is one day.
All
Trust me. It's a dream for me.
All right. And about Sabaton Open Air in your hometown, how is it, you know, having your own festival? And among the various bands, you also had 2 Italian bands, Elven King and Frozen Crow. How you got in touch with them, and why them? I mean, you got struck by their music. How did it happen?
It's always different with every setup. I mean, the whole idea for us when we started this festival in 2008 was, okay, we were having a release party for our album, but there was no venue of decent size. So we decided, let's book some bands that we think are good, or some touring friends, or something local, you know, from our part. You know, it's really tricky for that part of Sweden for younger bands to have anywhere to play except the local pub. So, and that's still what we do in a way. Obviously, we become a bigger band, so our network of people who you toured with is bigger. But also one of the things and criterions that's come later could be that we book something because we like it. And we don't have to care about the economy of it, you know?
So you pick the bands, actually. You choose...
Not always, no. Usually it's a discussion between... Chris, that is the guy doing most of the festival stuff. Okay. But it's always a discussion between me, Per, and Chris there of what should we bring. So we always pitch in ideas. And yeah, for example, I was really, really adamant that we needed to have Crimson Glory on our festival a couple of years ago. And we got them. All right. And it turned out to be their last live show ever.
Wow.
Know? So...
you made history.
Yeah, and it was the first show in Sweden for them as well.
Oh,
you know?
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bands we want there because they're fun. And also, what we should remember is lots of bands we book because we think these are bands that a Sabaton fan would enjoy, but possibly have not heard of yet.
Okay, so... they can open their mind.
Yeah.
All right. Last time you've been to Italy, some, you know, uncompromising true metallers didn't take very well the fact that, except in Italy, opened for you, opened your show. What do you answer to that?
Well, I understand, honestly, I do. For me, it felt, sorry for my language, totally fucked up. Because I grew up, I love Accept, I grew up listening to that. How are we gonna go up and follow Metal Heart and Balls to the Wall? It makes no sense.
So it wasn't easy for you
No,
at all?
not at all. But I mean, intellectually, I understand. We were a bigger band.
Yeah.
More people were buying our albums and concert tickets. But emotionally, it felt totally wrong, you know? But I mean, I must say it was really cool of Accept to like, fuck that. That's the way it is, you know?
Yeah.
And they said basically that, yeah, it was the same for us when we started out. All of a sudden, the guys we grew up listening to were playing before us. And that's the natural way, you know?
All right.
So, yeah, why not?
And this time you are on tour with Apocalyptica, and they join you on stage every night. How did it come about? I mean, your friends, I know they collaborated with you before, but the fact of, having them on stage also during your show.
I think it started, we wanted to do something together. I mean, they released the first single from our album, The Great War, was released by them first, cello version, before 24 hours before us. Because we like to do stupid shit, basically. And
that's very cool, by the way.
Yeah, it's fun. The cover comes first, you know. And then we planned on doing this re-recording of Angels Calling, a song about World War I, which we wanted to bring more attention to. Because we wanted to bring something for the old school fans that might not... We haven't played that song for 12 years, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
And however, how do we do that without alienating the newer people? Because there's a good chance they haven't heard Angels Calling, you know? So we thought, okay, and if we're going to remake that song, so it makes sense to play it live so people can sing along, which makes a better night. We wanted to do a special version. So we brought in Apocalyptica, and as we did, we started talking, as we do. And it was actually on our festival in Falun. And then we did that song, and then we thought, wow, we should maybe do this on the stage. And yeah, but if we were already doing it, why should we only do one song? You already did Fields of Verdun. Could you join us on that one as well? They're like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Let's do it.
Should we do maybe some more? So that's how the idea started, actually.
Oh, wow. Great. Since, the Great War is such a huge topic, are you planning to do a volume 2? What's next? What is going to be next?
I don't know, but as you said, I mean, we did a lot of research. I think we went into this with, I don't know how many 100 ideas, but lots. But when we boiled it all down and we had, like 80 possible ideas that we thought were good.
Yeah.
And then starting to choose it. And then also, and when we announced that this album was coming, and just before it came out, even more people started sending us, hey, I hope you better write about this. And it's like, oh, come on. we should have known this a year ago. So I don't know what we're going to do next, but I'd be surprised if we didn't go back and cover some of these stories that, we didn't hear of until after we'd made the album, and also the ones that we couldn't get on the album,
Okay. 20 years, and it's time, to take stock. So platinum record sales, checked. Headlining shows at large European festivals, checked. Prestigious events in Japan and USA, check. Awards won, check. What is next, what's the next battlefield that you have to conquer, to celebrate the milestone for this Sabaton tour?
I think we're back to the pinball machine here. No, seriously, none of those things. Yes, I would say the big festivals, that was a dream from being younger. But I also think, being able to do Sabaton History Channel that we're doing now, like mini documentaries on YouTube for all of our songs.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, actually. I don't have a set goal except the pinball machine, of course.
Of course.
But there's always a possibility to improve and do stuff better and bigger and different. So it's easy to think when you look at Sabaton that, oh, these guys were smart. They did it right. Yeah, but people forget the shitty stuff you do, because then we won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
We've done so many stupid stuff or projects that didn't work out, but of course nobody hears about them because we stopped them before we launched them, or we tried and it failed, but it was 10, 12 years ago and nobody remembers,
Next video?
Ooh, I wouldn't know actually which one that is.
Okay.
I'm hoping for a bit of a rest for music videos now. Actually, it's not my favorite thing to do.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
no matter without a car crash or
But they
nothing.
turn out so amazing that I hope you're gonna do more.
We will. I mean, I understand it's necessary to do the music videos. However, me doing them, it feels weird. I'm pretending, you know.
Yeah.
There's no crowd there.
Yeah, but okay. How do you imagine yourself in 10 years by now?
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. It's gonna be 2030.
Yeah, I'm still doing this. I should think absolutely. I'll be 49 then, 10 years from now. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I still think 20 years from now, that's when we have to start evaluate if we are in good enough shape to still be on stage, you know.
Okay, thanks Joakim for your time and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very
again.
much.
Ciao.
Ciao.